everybody. Welcome back to I'm Mike, and today I'm here to review Season 2 of... Bet you didn't think you were going to get two of those back-to-back, but I'm flying solo today, and I have to make my own fun. Season 2 finally has come to an end after a long delay in the start and a large break in between the first half and the second half of this season. And it's got some questions left to ask, like, was it worth the wait? Is it going to be worth the next wait? How long is that next wait? Where do we go from here for those of us who haven't read the comics? And man, is everybody okay? I think is the only other question, because I'll tell you what, after you know, this is definitely a spoiler review. I mean, we go full spoilers on this show, but if there's one thing I can definitely say is I don't think I've been left like truly shook after an episode of television or a movie quite the way I was with this one. When Mark was standing in that desert covered in the blood of Angstrom Levy, I genuinely could feel my hands shaking. I was devastated. I was truly devastated. I was really impressed with just the depth of emotion they were able to convey this season. And it brings me to something that was a criticism of mine until we got to the end of the season, which was Angstrom Levy disappears for the majority of it. We see him obviously in the first episode, and he pops up in some mid-credit scenes or whatever throughout the rest of the first half of season 1, and then I don't think we see him again in part 2 until right before he comes back to what we're considering as you know, our reality, to threaten Invincible's and his family. And so it was a criticism of mine. I was like, are we ever going to get back to Sterling K. Brown? And when they started teasing that, oh no, he actually is coming back in for the final for the final chunk of the season to be this big villain at the end, I was a little apprehensive going into season 1. I really wasn't sure how they were going to pull it off, because I was like, we've spent no time with this guy. We spent no time with this guy and the ramifications of what happened. So I was genuinely impressed with how much they were able to actually convey in the very first, in the very last episode of the show. I was really worried that they were going to have to bum rush everything and just run full steam ahead on him, and it was going to feel rushed and discombobulated. But I was genuinely impressed. I was genuinely impressed with how he did, with how they did with Angstrom Levy. I mean, I got to the point where I was like, oh yeah, no, if I were him, I'd want to kill Invincible too. This is the only reality where he doesn't kill me and or ruin my life. But then even ultimately that ends up not being true, because in this one reality where Invincible is good, or at least trying to be good, and Angstrom Levy was a villain, he still wound up getting himself killed by Invincible because of the things he did. So in any reality, Angstrom Levy is destined to be killed by Invincible. It just so happens that in this episode, in this universe, he was Mark's, I don't know if it's his first kill technically, but it's the first time he's killed out of anger, out of where he's fully lost control, where he felt his Viltrumite side really starting to take over for the first time, which again leads to just truly one of the most emotional scenes with Mark and Debbie on the rooftop of the house after it's been rebuilt again. Speaking of Debbie takes her fucking licks in the finale. I think like most people, when he broke Debbie's arm, I jumped out of my seat. I was like, no sir, absolutely not. Not in this house, sir. And as a devout mama's boy, absolutely not. And speaking of that, actually, one of the things I definitely noticed in the scenes with Debbie, with Angstrom especially, and then through the end of the episode, Mom of the Century Award goes to Debbie, because at no point does she stop asking about her boys. When she's sitting there with a broken arm, all she cares about is crying Oliver. When she's in the hospital being healed, all she does is ask about where's Mark and where's Oliver. Debbie's the goat. Debbie's the mom goat. Sorry, Mom, I love you. Debbie's the goat. I'm not saying you wouldn't do the same for me, Mom, but Debbie actually has faced aliens and interdimensional beings. I'm not saying you wouldn't do it for me, Mom. I'm just saying. Very happy with the way that they just continued Debbie's story in this. Debbie is not the character that I think I anticipated having the emotional grab that I have with her now. Like she like, I know a lot of people's favorite characters are characters like Rex and Eve and all that, and by all means, yeah, Debbie's my favorite. I think it's just because I'm a mama's boy. So my favorite character is going to be the goat mama, the mama goat. I don't know. Either way, it sounds like she's actually a goat. I do want to take a moment to talk about the portrayal of Amber in season 2. I am on the record numerous times throughout this season as saying that I felt like the way that Amber was written this season was miles away better than the way she was written in season 1. Season 1 of Invincible, Amber just felt very manipulative, very gaslighty, very self-servicing at times almost. Yes, we know from season 1 that she does, like, we eventually do learn that she is very altruistic, and very much big on, the greater good, as it were, the good of all mankind from a civilian point of view. But my issue was more with the way that her relationship with Mark was portrayed. I wasn't a big fan of how their relationship felt toxic. Honestly, it felt toxic, but it also felt teenage, because ultimately they are teenagers. And so I was very happy with how their relationship and how the writing of Amber changed in season 2, where she stopped being quite as flaky or flighty or aloof, maybe, as you could say, for season 1. And in season 2, she was more like, no, I'm going to say what I mean. I'm not playing games. I'm not hiding, playing close to the chest. I'm going to say what I mean. I'm going to tell you when I'm not happy. I'm going to tell you when I don't like a situation, and I'm going to tell you when something's not working for me. And that does ultimately lead to the end of the relationship at the end of the season 2, which is both heartbreaking and I think most of us can agree needed to happen. I mean, there is not a person among us who didn't have that relationship their freshman year of college, or just at some point in their life where no one did anything wrong. No one did anything to cause this. It's no one's fault. It's just sometimes things just don't work. And that's a hard lesson to learn in your 30s. It's a harder lesson to learn when you're 18 years old, 19 years old, and amidst everything else they're going through, to have to also navigate the choppy waters of adult romantic relationships. Not even once. Thank you very much. Amber's big thing in her kind of final monologue to Mark was about not having agency. And I think agency was absolutely the thing that her character was missing, because it felt like she was just there in season 1 to be a romantic foil to Mark. And again, I'm saying this as somebody who has not read the comics, so I don't know what is coming or what was coming or what could have been coming. All I can speak on is what I witnessed. And then in season 1, from just based on what I knew and got from season 1 alone, wasn't as into Amber. I know I wasn't alone. I know that was not necessarily the popular opinion, but I wasn't alone in that. But I also know that most people came around in season 2, because whatever the little meetings or whatever it was they had with Amber, with the characterization of Amber for season 2, I was really happy with it. And to the point now where I'm actually looking forward to hopefully seeing more of her in the future. Now, obviously, they're setting up for a relationship between Mark and Eve, which I mean, yeah, it's Ross and Rachel. Sure, it's easy, it's fine. But again, it's Spidey and MJ. So I'm Bruce and Selena. So I'm into it. I just hope they do something with it, and I have no reason to suspect they won't. I don't know what to expect. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that relationship, to where it's, not just a one-to-one of Spidey and MJ. Season 2, we also saw a lot of exploration with characters like Donald and his newer cyborg inside parts, as well as the return of the storyline from D.A. Sinclair, The Martians. We also saw a return to the storyline of the Lizard League, which dealt out some pretty hefty consequences for our characters, both the Lizard League and the Martians, in the same episode of the second half of season 2, leaving with truly one of the most stressful cliffhangers I have ever experienced in my life, short of nothing than maybe the Sopranos finale, or the finale to the first half of season 1, a flash forward. If you know, you know. So having to sit with that for a week, all I remember thinking, and I remember saying this to Soul, we may have said it on the video when we reviewed it, was, can you imagine if that had been the cliffhanger for the first half of season 1 and we had to wait months for the resolution to that, only for it just in the first few seconds to open with Rex getting a bullet in the head? Wow. Wild, wild stuff. The characterization of Rex this season has been absolutely stellar too. The way that he has really become a character of depth, a character of an emotional arc. Maybe some of it's getting shot in the head. Maybe some of it's just we're finally getting to see the side of Rex that Eve always swore was there. Not that it excuses Rex's past behavior at all, far from it. But maybe, as always, we're all for second chances and seeing character growth and character change. So if that's what we get out of Rex, from him losing a hand and getting shot in the head and soloing the Lizard League for the most part, I also am I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bummed out that they all lived, because I'm just kind of like, that I don't know. It just felt like it kind of removed some of the stakes for me. I think Kate or Ray or Rex should have died. I think one of them should have died, like died. Just for no other reason than it's like I don't know. It diminished the stakes a little bit for me. But again, we're getting to see some character growth out of it through Rex, through the return of Kate, and just what that's doing with Immortal. And I'm curious to see what it's going to do for Shrinking Ray as well. But, I mean, the main thing we really need to get into is everything going on with Nolan, the Viltrumites, and Alan. Nolan having a new second family with this weird insectoid race, and then giving us Oliver, Mark's little purple brother, who's growing a little faster than humans, but not as fast as the insect aliens were, where they were basically dead in a week. We also saw that we've got this... General Zod, 1-to-1 by the name of General Krieg, voiced by Clancy Brown, stupendously, back from playing Demon Detective, now playing General Krieg. We also saw the arrival of Anissa. It's the only thing from the comics that I've really allowed to be spoiled for me, and that I'm willing to voluntarily spoil for people, is just the fact that in the comics, Anissa is a monster, and I'm really curious how that's going to progress with this season, or with this show rather. But we know the Viltrumites are coming. They're coming for Earth. They're planning to execute Nolan. Alan took on some Viltrumites, almost died, came back, super yoked, super huge, and can now handle himself against the Viltrumites. I mean, he got punched in the face and it didn't really do any damage. He made Anissa bleed. And we know that he's in the prison ship, the secret prison ship the Viltrumites have with Nolan. They're communicating telepathically, and Nolan misses Debbie. My God. I think that's all of it. Guys, I'm doing this by myself. So if I miss something, blame Bogz and Soul, because they're not here. I really enjoyed this season. I think more than season 2, because I love good story and I love good characterization. Where season 1, I think, has the upper hand with season 2, is I think season 1 was a bit more action-packed. I think season 2 did do a lot more exposition, a lot more story, but I'm also not mad about it. It's more, this is not a criticism so much as just an observation. And I think where some people are walking away from season 1 saying, like, it didn't feel quite as action-packed. I think a lot of that's because season 1 had a bigger statement to make. Season 2 could afford to take that risk. They had already proven they could do it. Season 1 was the proof of concept season of saying, like, this is why this thing is awesome. And now season 2 is, here's why these characters are awesome. Season 2 is very character and story. I mean, season 1 did too, but season 2, like, really was character driven, which is what I love. All I know is that with season 1, we ended with a very, like, desolate, sad, defeated tone. Whereas with season 2, we're ending with almost a sense of hope. Because Mark has a plan. Alan has a plan. Nolan is seemingly trying to get his shit together or figuring out not to get his shit together, but it's just, yeah, whatever this thing is where he's developing this sense of humanity, which also we know that now the leader of the council or whatever, Alan's buddy, is also a secretly reformed Viltrumite. So who's to know when Optimus Prime is coming back to give Mark the Allspark or the Matrix of Leadership. I don't know how many Transformer puns I can work into this. It's going to be wild next season, and the current going rumor is that we probably have to wait like a year, based on what was in the most meta of all meta scenes to ever happen in a television show. Period. Eat your heart out, Deadpool. They said something about like, yeah, give it a year or something like that. So I think the going rumors that was their way of saying like, give it a year. We'll be back next year. Here's hoping. But let us know what you guys thought about season 2 of Invincible. What were your favorites? What were your least favorites? Where do not spoil stuff from the comics, but where do those of you who have not read the comics make some wild ass predictions down at the bottom? Guys, we are just over 10 subscribers away from crossing 300. So like, can we do that? Can we just make that happen, please? I'd love that. I'd really love that. Listen, guys, we really appreciate you hanging out with us here on the channel. Thank you for sticking around for Invincible Season 2. We're still working on Shogun. We're still working on X-Men 97. Other stuff is coming. And so make sure you guys subscribe, have the notification bell on, and we'll see you again next time here on Off the Wall.